Hello, Beep Baseball world. We are here to recap an exciting weekend of Bolingbrook Beep Baseball Bash tournament action. I am Neil Mick, 2024 presidential candidate. Hashtag for the association, of course. Duh. And I'm here with all of them, my press secretary, my chief of staff, my campaign manager, and my co-host. They are all Dr. Bam Bam Clark.
When you said recap, I thought you were going to say wreak havoc, man. I was like, wow, we're here to wreak havoc today. But yes, and then quite the alliteration on the Bolingbrook Beep Ball Bash. Even it's difficult for me to say it.
That
But yes,
would that would get us a lot more attention if we would wreak havoc. It
ah,
seems
dude,
to
that's what's
be
up.
the only thing our beat baseball people want.
Ah, yes, yes.
From the youngest all the way up to Aunt Cindy, they loves the drama.
Hey, they love the controversy, man. We are a Jerry Springer society now. That's what we have been reduced to. It has it has infected us all. So the more havoc we could wreak, I'm sure um, you know, the higher the views would go, and the more conversation we'd have.
I'm
But
not so sure that we haven't always maybe been a Jerry Springer society. It just the only time you got a window into it was on Jerry Springer. Whereas now every Tom, Dick, and Harry can get on a platform somewhere. So
no, you
there's no
definitely.
hiding it anymore. We can't hide stupidity.
No, I mean we're always there. We just perhaps have never celebrated it to the degree that we have celebrated it now that we
Again, I
are
might have to
a,
disagree because
a,
that window we would get into, the whole crowd be going, Jerry, Jerry, Jerry. When
yeah,
they're on Springer, like people love the crazy when you get a chance to see it.
yeah,
Unfortunately, that's why I'm
yeah.
scared
No,
of society.
no. I mean it's true, but there was so if you were to turn on TV in the 1950s, you would not have seen Jerry Springer, right? And that sort of behavior wouldn't have been
That's true.
like
It would not have been put on
celebrated,
TV.
right? And celebrated. So even like when you had the crazy of the civil rights movement of cops, using hoses and dogs on peaceful protesters, that upset people who were watching it on the nightly news, and it got support for the civil rights movement. So the crazy was looked at as crazy, and a lot of people are like, no. But Jerry Springer, people look at it as crazy, and they celebrate the crazy, and they love the crazy, and they try to figure out ways to be more crazy. So
So they could get on Jerry.
I'm sorry, I'm sorry. People didn't tune in here for political discussion or sociological historical discussion. So
True.
you
I
know,
do I do believe some tune in for the pure randomness though, because
Ooh,
I mean otherwise we throw out as much random as we do
that's true.
b-ball, so
That's
why
true.
would they still be coming back after all
Hey,
this
Neil Dog, good point, man. Good point. You're right, man. You're right. They like it. They like it.
time? So we do have. I've got all the info.
Oh,
I've got a lot of info on what went down at the Bolingbrook Beep Baseball Bash over the weekend. Exciting weekend. Uh, there are a few, I guess, notes I thought we should touch on. A couple of Nick Silver's posts I saw, and I guess something I caught over the weekend also involving the rules. But I would like to point out, Sethar, that the power of the Beat Ball Blues show. We had the three of the Chicago comments. on our show right before the tournament, and two of the three got named to the all tournament team over the weekend. So we'll get to that later on. But also, like on the podcast, I made a little indie Thunder mashup using a few different voices from the current Thunder team as the podcast intro. And then Andy Thunder went and had a strong tournament. So I say the power of the Beatball Blues show still exists up there. Saying.
well, it did have some electoral might over the last couple cycles. So
Yeah.
let's hope it carries its
I
political
didn't
punch.
I didn't want to touch on that. I didn't want to jinx it. I don't want this to be the year it falls apart.
Oh yes, yes.
But I
Boy,
don't know if you saw Nick Silver has posted a little bit about rules, and there's one he mentioned. I wanted to talk about something I noticed over the weekend that I thought was odd, and something he threw out there that I'd never thought about in all the years I played. But I guess the thing that I caught over the weekend, there was a point. No, I'm drawing a blank.
me,
There's a
me,
point where there was I guess the umpire couldn't determine whether it went to the runner or to the defense, which I would think is the pure definition of a tie. You know what I mean?
all
If
right,
they can't say runner safe, then it's a tie, and by rule, the tie goes to the defense in our
right,
sport. But they
right.
did a replay because the umpire couldn't determine which way it went. And again, to me, that would be the epitome of it's a tie. The tie goes to the defense, right?
Yes, I mean you would think. I mean you couldn't. I don't. Not watching the game, I don't know what possibly led them to not be able to determine what was what, but you
Right.
would think
That's
it
true.
would
And
be that it was such a bang bang play. I mean, that's what you would think. And if it was such a bang bang play, you're right. But I don't know what they were saying was the reason they couldn't make the
I mean,
determination.
the
So I don't
only
know.
reason to me they wouldn't, and I don't know in any of
Right.
these cases, I don't know who the umpire was at the plate. I always had two games going, and then the third session on Saturday, I had all four games going at one point. The Gateway game lost their feed, I believe, but I had four games going at one point. So I don't know who was umpiring what field. You know what I mean?
Right.
Everything's just a big goulash of meatball in my head. Um, so the only thing though I was thinking about that I can imagine where they couldn't even determine it was a tie is if somehow they missed the play, like they weren't watching, or you know what I
Right.
mean?
Or
I,
just
I
watching one side of the play. You know what I'm saying? Like just
yeah,
watching the field and not
it,
paying attention to the.
that's a
Yeah,
hard. That's
yeah,
either in either of those. Either of our explanations is a hard like replay though. It's like you know what I mean. If
right.
I'm a coach on the losing side of that, it's like, are you kidding me?
No.
We're doing a replay because you weren't watching. So I don't know what the
Yeah,
case
no.
was, but
No, and I agree with you. I was just saying that, perhaps there's some
yeah,
extraordinary
yeah, yeah,
explanation, but
right.
normally you would think it was such a bang bang play. And if it's such a bang bang play, it should be replayed. I'm not replayed. It should go be a tie and go to the
Yeah,
go to the
in
fielders.
the end, that for me, the epitome of a tie is you can't determine which way it went. And we have the rule, tie goes to the defense. So,
Right.
and the other case that I saw from Nick's post, I guess I didn't see this, but there was a case where I get the play was called off because there was concern.
Somebody was gonna somebody was gonna hit somebody like the
Yeah,
ball was
the fielder was fielding the ball near the line, and the runner was running down the line near the baseline. Because for
right.
those that don't know, our baseline is actually 10 feet off the foul line to avoid this problem. But from what I understand, they and again, this is, I'm just getting this from Nick's post, so I
Right,
don't know who saw this or what they saw,
right, right,
whatever, you know what I mean? I'm not pretending to be an expert on what went on here. But apparently, they determined it was, from what Nick was posted, like nobody was in danger. Like it wasn't a play they need to have called off. But they called it off and awarded the run to the runner, which you could only do, like, that's a case where it depends on where the infraction happens. If the offensive player goes into the field of action, the runner, the hitter's called out. If the player goes into foul territory, putting the offensive player in danger, then the runner's called safe. But if
right.
they called it off when nobody was really in danger, I don't know how they could award it to the runner or whatever. I don't know.
No, I mean, I agree. It should be fairly clear. I mean, at least, I mean, I guess if you look at in the umpire's mind, right, trying to look at it in the best light, they might have in their mind been clear on who the
Yeah, yeah,
individual
yeah,
was
yeah.
that
That's what
was
I'm
going
saying.
to
I'm not
be the
pretending
problem.
with both of
Right,
these cases. I'm not pretending to be an expert on why they made their determination. I don't even know who they are at this point.
right,
I don't even know what umpires it was,
right,
but
right. But no, you're 100%. If they're not in danger, or if it's totally precautionary, you should replay that. If you're not
yeah, I
sure.
mean, yeah, 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 yeah. No, if nobody was in danger and they shouldn't have called it off, there should be a replay. And even
Right,
that's frustrating, but it's better than like just giving the run to the runner or whatever.
right. Just
Uh,
automatically awarding it.
but I don't know, like the in the post, there's like suggestions of like rule changes to do this, that, and the other. And I'm not saying that the rule changes don't merit being looked at. But in some of these cases, the problem isn't the rule. The problem is that the rule is not being called properly. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's not that the rule needs to be changed so much as like it needs to be interpreted correctly and imposed correctly.
Right.
And that's
Yeah. No,
kind of
I
the
agree with
case with a
that.
lot of things in our league. I mean, it was ignored, but back in 2017 when they wrote up this code of ethics thing that everybody has to sign, like 99% of the stuff that was in that is already addressed in our like guidelines and bylaws. Like all that stuff really was already covered. You know what I mean? It's like they just need to be enforced. You don't need this
Right.
code of ethics uh sheet to enforce it.
Right.
You need to enforce the stuff that's already been written, man.
Right.
So I don't know. Something he did talk about, I would like to get your thoughts on though, that I mean, because it was windy and rainy there, and he was talking about how we need to consider, because like if lightning strikes within X whatever,
You gotta
we
go.
gotta
Right.
go. If and last year for the first time ever, we ran into a problem with the heat index reaching a certain point. We gotta come off the field and saying, talk about the safety when wind is blowing, which he's 100% correct. I mean, I've never thought of it, and we shouldn't be playing because I don't know. We come from an era when we played through everything.
Right.
um, but
They
but he's
don't.
a hundred
Hey,
percent correct, dude.
people aren't made like they used to be made. It's the
He's a
Jerry Springer generation now. But go
he's
ahead.
100% correct that it is a dangerous situation when you're running in the wind. Like I can remember in Taiwan, we were playing against at that time they were called the Fast Star Comments. Um, it was the game to get in. It was an undefeated game to get into the championship game, and because they had floods and all kinds of weather issues and had to shut down some of the fields, the schedule got changed around so much that we were playing the undefeated game on Thursday night. So it's a Thursday night game, and the wind was blowing, and two of the fields were close together. I was running to a base in that game on another field. Like I was halfway down to third base when I faintly, with the wind blowing my way, heard a base way off to my right side, and I knew
Right.
there was no field over there, no other game going on over there. I was like, crap, that's my base.
Right,
I had to run across
right,
the field, man. Oh, anyways, I can't dive into all that, but I mean,
right.
I tell people all the time, like I've talked to the younger Sirens players when we're in Vegas. There's nothing harder than trying to get to the base when the wind's blowing, because the wind blows in our ears already when we start to run as fast as we can. And then you add a 15, 20 mile an hour gust on top of that. It's like running, it's like Helen Keller running in the end, somebody being blind and deaf because you can't hear anything. It's tough. So I
No,
don't know
you
what the rule would be. You know what I mean? What, like,
right.
how do we determine like what mile per hour or whatever? I don't know how to write that rule. Um,
I mean, it is a tough one, right? Because you then have to decide: are you talking about wind gusts? Are you talking about sustained winds? There's times that the wind just comes up for a few minutes and then dies down. But I hear you, right? I mean, it's one of the worst things about doing outside blind sports, right? I dealt with this as a totally blind downhill skier, right? I mean, there's
yeah,
times. I mean, it's icy, the wind's blowing, your guides in front of you. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I didn't hear anything. I'm just hoping that at some point I do hear a go,
something.
go. Yeah, it's like,
That's got
oh
to be
man.
even more scary though. How fast do you think you're going when you're going downhill like
I
that?
have I have no idea. I couldn't even guess. I couldn't even guess.
Yeah,
But it
it's a
seems a
lot
lot
faster than
faster.
running the base.
Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, you're going really fast. I mean,
Yeah,
you're going
yeah,
really
yeah,
fast, and the wind's in your ear, and
yeah.
and I mean, it is. There's times that I did not hear him, and then it's like you hear him like turn left, and you hear him over to your left. It's like, oh, okay, I got to go over there, But it's just then they never called off anything for us, right? But so it's just a tough one, right? It's
Yeah,
just a
yeah.
tough one, and it is a safety thing, right? I mean, it is a
No,
safety thing. I
absolutely.
mean, in all of these things. So I feel them. I just don't know how you necessarily would come up with a
The gauge.
consistent, yeah,
How do
gauge
you
that you could
gauge it?
use.
Yeah, and
Right?
determine.
Yeah. I mean, it's
And if
just
you set it too low, like literally a whole day of
right,
games could be wiped out. Not that the
right,
quality, because the quality of our sport goes down. Like you got blind
right.
people playing a game using their ears when they can't hear anything. So it's not good for defense. It's not good for
For
offense.
offense, right? No,
Yeah.
it's horrible, man. It's like I hated playing in the wind. I mean, I can't hear anyway now. So, um, but I feel you, and I felt Nick on that post. But
Yeah.
I just don't think there's any real way to deal with it outside of the umpires taking a gauge on it and saying, all right, let's hold off for a minute. But like you said, you know, you can't like just throw away a whole. I mean, you could, but you can't necessarily push a whole game off because of it. It does mess up that schedule at the World Series, but
Yeah.
it is just as devastating. I mean, it's even more devastating to the game than heat. Right, you can play in heat. You can't play in wind. It's just the reality of the world.
Yeah, it's a
So,
different kind of danger, I guess, because
yeah,
people
exactly.
could
Yeah,
have heat stroke or whatever.
right,
Nick Silver experienced heat stroke last. He's the one that kind of started this conversation or inspired it or whatever. He went through heat stroke last year. A lot of players did. So
uh,
that tournament I was just talking about in Taiwan, I suffered it a little bit during our practice before the tournament even started. So like it offers its own dangers, but I mean all of the weather stuff. I mean
right,
like it's all legitimate. It all needs to be taken in or
right.
whatever, but man, we're like it's a pressure cooker. We some way somehow have to always get these games in before everybody gets on a plane and goes home Sunday.
Right. And you don't
and
want people sitting out there forever. You know what I mean? It's like, man, it's a now you're sitting out here for an hour for the
yeah,
wind to
yeah,
die down.
yeah. Yeah. No, I don't. I mean, I don't know the correct answer, obviously, but it is worth the conversation because it is dangerous, man. So that's
Inside, man, we need a dome. Keep
yeah.
all inside the dome,
Yeah.
man, and just deal with the echoes and the walls. Shaka when the walls fell.
What was it? I would say the other. Weren't there only like two lines from that whole thing?
There were Tarmac and Jalad at Tanagra.
There you go. I never would have
uh,
pulled that.
that is next generation Star Trek. The great Jean-Luc Picard stranded on an island, but or on a planet.
The,
I'm
the,
sorry.
the great John Newton.
Yes, the great
Pickard.
Jean-Luc Picard. Yes, Jean-Luc Picard. Uh, but yes,
All right.
I thought Nick was good with that. I thought he kind of lost me with the the yelling late bass sort of thing. But Nick is always good for some solid ideas. A beat ball veteran who has good perspective and stuff like that. A lot nothing. But so I don't know. It's not my. Any rule though, any rule that goes, um, any rule that gets in has to favor the defense. That's all I got to say. Any rule has to favor the defense. So,
Well, we had a cool weekend of beat baseball, Seth Dog. Some a few surprising results, I think maybe. Who knows? I don't know. Go through it all and see what you think. Starting on Saturday in round one, I had lost my sheet that had like bracket A and bracket B broken up. So I'm going to call this bracket A because the Chicago Comets are the home team and they were in this bracket. So if I have the brackets wrong, my apologies. But so in bracket A, the Chicago Comets beat the Austin Blackhawks 15-10 in the morning game. Indy Edge beat the Philly Fire in a 12-11 game. I think Brandon Chesser might have walked that off, but I shouldn't even say because I'm unsure. But that was a 12-11 game. Gateway Archers beat your Bayou City Heat 13-12, Seth Dog. Second time the
mm,
Heat have played them to a one-run game this season.
it's good.
What say that again?
So that's good. I mean,
Yeah.
as good as a loss could be, but
Yeah.
I
Uh,
mean,
no moral victories
yeah.
there.
Still,
The
if
other game in bracket B had the Indy Edge defeating the Cleveland Scrappers 16-6, taking us to round two. Bracket A, Indy Edge 20. Yeah, sorry. I have Indy Edge written, but I'm sure that's supposed to be the Indy Thunder. No, you know what? I gave you it was the Indy Thunder that beat the Scrappers 16-6. So I'm sorry. Got my Indies all messed up, Seth. So it was the Indy Edge beat the Chicago Comets 22-12, starting the second round of games. The Philly Fire beat the Austin Blackhawks 15-10. In bracket B, the Indy Thunder defeat the Gateway Archers 25-24.
mm,
Very tightly contested ball game. And the Bayou City Heat defeated the Cleveland Scrappers 13-9, rounding out the second round of games. In that Thunder Gateway game, that's kind of similar to their game from a week ago, to where the Thunder spent most of the game chasing Gateway.
all right,
But this time they were able to catch up to them. They went up in the bottom of the sixth inning down 24-17. And Jared and the
really,
boys, yeah, Jared and the boys were able to run off. not 8 straight. They were down to 2 outs when they scored the tying run. Adam Rodenbeck scored the tying run. Then Kyle Lewis scored the winning run. But both of those were scored with 2 down.
That to me that yeah, I mean we've seen Jarrett and the Thunder do that 1,000 times before, be great like that, but the story is the total collapse then of the of St. Louis, man. Defensively, what happened to them? Were they not at full strength, or giving up 8
In all
runs in the bottom of the sixth?
Well, in all fairness, both teams gave up 24 runs.
Yeah,
You know what I
no,
mean? It wasn't. It
but
wasn't.
I
These
mean,
were
but
considered, I think, defensive fields, kind of, but that wasn't a real
I mean,
strong
but
defensive play.
you only gave up 17 in the first five, right? And then you give up 8 in the last. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? In the last frame. I mean, were you
I don't
watching the
know.
game?
I had the Indy Thunder stream on, so the Thunder are streaming their games on YouTube, which gives me because I can't do Facebook games from my computer. Like
Uh,
you're probably because you have a Mac, you're probably able to. But when if you have a window, I don't know about Windows 11, but Windows 10 and before, you can't. I could go back after the streams are ended
and
and
watch
watch
them.
videos, but I can't watch them while they're live. So the Thunder putting their games on YouTube gives me the opportunity to catch their games on my computer. So I was always catching the Thunder streams. I believe it's Aaron C's other half that does their play-by-play. I enjoyed listening to her on Saturday. At least I hope it's his other half because she calls Aaron C. Babe a lot. So if not, he's going to be in trouble with this other half. Actually, shout out to all the streamers that hung in there because it was at times really like cold and wet, and they hung in there. And Rosina Foster did 3 games for the MBBA on Saturday, hung in there tough. I was sending her updates while she was out there doing the games or whatever. Um, but I guess just going back to this game, so I listening to the Indy Thunder, like I'm not going to get criticism on the Gateway defense, or you know what I mean. If I'm listening to Gateway, I'm going to
Right,
hear their play-by-play, like, oh, so and so
right,
would normally get that,
right, right,
whatever.
right, right.
But again, I mean, with 49 runs on the board total, we could get that from either side.
Right.
They both put up a lot of runs. I guess I feel like the Thunder so far and the Heat have played the Archers the best. In each case with the Thunder, I think this is third time the Thunder and the Archers have played, and the Thunder have scored like 24, 25 runs every single time. This is the first time that the Thunder like matched it or whatever. So I was thinking coming out of last week with their 25-18 game that the Archers won, that like that if the Thunder were going to make a difference, it needed to be made on defense. Like they need to they need to hold the Archers down to like 18 rather than trying to match the 25. But they went the other way. Matched so, and you had asked about if they were missing players. Like, I don't even really want to touch on that this week because all the teams were missing players.
Correct.
Um, some not as many as others, but Gateway was missing starters. The Thunder were missing starters. Every team out there was. I don't know as much about Cleveland, so I can't speak on them.
Right,
But
right.
everybody was missing somebody, so there's really just no point in touching on it too much.
Well,
All right.
that's still an ugly loss. I mean, just as a, I mean, we've played on championship teams before. That's a bad loss,
Well, I'm
right?
I'm guessing they feel the same way we would feel
Yes,
coming out of
yes.
that. Like you,
That's what I'm saying.
yeah,
I
yeah,
know
yeah,
they do. You know
yeah. No, I mean
that was a bad loss.
I've always, I was so and am still so cocky about the defense we played on the Dogs. You give us a 7-run lead going into the bottom of the sixth, and you got yourself a win. I remember when Timmy and I were playing on Oklahoma together in '04 and started talking about combining the Dogs in the Oklahoma team because both of our teams were dying, and we'd rather have one team than no team. But because the Heat when they won their championship in 2002 beat the Oklahoma team 30-29, if I remember right. And the first thing I told Tim, I was like, I promise you this, Tim, you come to the Dogs. You get us 29 runs in a championship game, we will get you a championship ring. I promise you that. You will not see us give up 30 runs in a championship game ever.
Right.
I don't even know if we gave up 30 runs in all our championship games combined. Well, that we did, but either way, yeah.
Right.
Uh,
No, I mean and they have championship aspirations. Obviously, they're gonna be like, the win. I mean, I'm sure there's 1,000 reasons it happen, but it's not something you would want
in all
saying,
fairness, I
well,
haven't seen anybody offering
no, never
anything. You
thought,
know what I mean? But
no.
it
That's interesting. It's interesting. It's good.
well,
That's
lost a
good.
tough game they could have won. So, big deal. Move on.
Uh,
Wasn't at the
uh,
World Series, so it doesn't kill you.
that's good, man. You never, it looked like it was just going to be the Archers series to walk through. So maybe there is hope. Maybe there's a reason to tune in.
I wasn't sure what you meant by hope. No, I got you. It sounds
Yeah,
better
no,
saying maybe there's a reason to tune in.
no. I mean, yeah, hope for a
If you think
competitive.
you already know the end to the book, you don't feel like reading it too much. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
no,
dig where
that's what
you're
I'm
coming
saying.
from.
Yeah, I mean, I'm saying hope for a competitive
All right.
World Series or whatever. So.
All right, let's wrap up round three and move on, get this closed out. So the third round on Saturday when it was raining cats and dogs, the Chicago Comets beat the Philly Fire 19-14. Indy Edge beat the Austin Blackhawks 16-5. That put the Edge in the championship game for that bracket. The Thunder, who they beat? The Bayou City Heat 18-5. Gave them a little whooping. That put the Thunder in the championship game in bracket B, and the Gateway Archers finished off their day 12-1. I lost that game when it was like 6-1, but I appreciated losing it because listening to 4 games and trying to get information to send to Rosina while she's doing the MBBA game was like my head was ready to explode. So I thought once it was all
Right.
done, I just had to turn everything off. Have a moment of silence for Neil Dogg's ears.
Oh wow.
Then so Sunday's placement games. The Indy Thunder beat the Indy Edge 18-13. Um, that was a solid win by the Thunder. They didn't have to bat in the bottom of the sixth or whatever. If going from memory, they were the home team. Maybe
Right.
I'm tripping on that, but I think they were the home team. But they won that pretty solidly. The Gateway Archers for third place beat the Chicago Comets 12-4. Your Bayou City Heat beat the Philly Fire 7-5.
Oh, ugly tournament for the Fire, huh?
Uh, I mean, yeah, but I mean, I again, I said we're going to
Yeah.
touch on stuff, but they're another team that were missing starters.
But everybody's
Yeah,
missing
no, you're
starters,
right.
man. Nobody wants
That
to
was
go
kind of the
0 and
case
3,
for everybody.
right?
That
I'm
was
just
kind of the
saying.
case for everybody. But you're going to say that to this also. Cleveland Scrappers 10, Austin Blackhawks 5. The
Yeah,
Blackhawks finished eighth, going 0-4 in this tournament.
yeah, it's an ugly day for the Blackhawks, but
I might be wrong on that score. The Blackhawk Stream, when they signed off, said it was 10-6, but I know it wasn't 10-6 because their fifth batter in the lineup was the last out. So it was either 10-5 or maybe 9-5. I'm not positive, but that's as close as I get that one.
That's close enough.
True enough.
Pretty a
Shout
close
out
game.
to Caleb Wright for the Indy Edge, who hit two home runs. I want to say it
In
was
a game.
against, yeah, both in the same game. I want to say against the Chicago Comets. Going from memory, I think it was that game. But yeah, it was pretty cool. And he came in. If I think I saw him come in off the bench twice for Corey White. Corey White had, I think, some kind of hand injury this weekend he was dealing with, so he wasn't playing all the time. But I think Caleb Wright had come in for Corey White and then came in and hit two home runs in consecutive at bats. And so that was pretty cool. He was a rookie last year with Gateway. And he's somebody I just a few weeks ago on the show when we
Yeah,
heard that he went to the Edge. I mentioned that had he gotten the same kind of playing time that like Mark Ivy got and Aaron Higby, like those guys who are rookies for Oklahoma and playing all the time. And had he gotten that kind of playing time, I felt like Caleb Wright would have been in the mix for male rookie of the year on offense. And he at least for one day showed that to be the case, playing for the Indy Edge now. So shout out Caleb. Here are the awards offensively. So I told you earlier that I wanted to have a little interaction with you. So what Joel Talby, spelled Taulbee. So I hope I'm saying his name right. Joel Talby was one of the award winners, but I didn't know how to spell his name, and I wanted to have it right. Is putting this information out with our because I'll put these results as part of the podcast and YouTube video. I wanted to get his name right, so I went searching around last night for it, and that's when I found that it's spelled Taulbee. Do you remember our little Raul Mondesi thing from like 25 years ago?
yeah. Raul and Raul and
Yeah,
Raul. Yeah.
yeah. So Raul Mondesi, as it's pronounced, started playing for the Dodgers 30 years ago. He was the 1994 Rookie of the Year. And because I'm an idiot, and the only name I had ever heard along those lines were Raul, uh, I, I I don't know how we got into the conversation, but I told you no, his name's Raul. Even though I listen to the games on the radio and hear them call Raul Mondesi all the time, just like Paul, because it's spelled Raul, Raul Mondesi. I was telling you that it's Raul. And so you had Christina reading you some fantasy baseball stats. That's
Yeah.
how long ago this was. It's when you're into fantasy baseball.
I know exactly the player too.
Yeah, yeah, me too. And so she reads his name, and you're like, no, Neil says it's Raul. She's like, it's spelled this way. You're like, nope, Neil says it's Raul. So she's like, all right. Then she gets to Paul O'Neill. She says Paul O'Neill.
Yeah, I remember that was
So
hilarious.
with this
Uh,
dude's whole name, Joel Talby, I was combining so your dad's name is Joel and your oldest brother's name is Joel, but your family pronounces your dad's name Joel and
well,
your brother,
they're
they're
both
both
spelled the
spelled, yeah,
same. So, yeah,
Joel.
yeah,
But your dad's is pronounced Joel and your brother is pronounced Joel. And so I was thinking we should change this dude's name to Joel Taubi. Joel Taubi.
yeah.
But no, shout out to Joel Talby because he's played before for the Edge, but he's never made the World Series. He's on the Thunder now, and he this will be his rookie year at the World Series. But he and Gerald Dykes tied both of the Thunder with a 667 average on the for fifth on the all tournament team. Corian White for a second week in a row, having a good showing at 684. Kyle Lewis hit 714, Indy Thunder. Tyler Rodriguez, my dude from the Philly Fire, with the second best average, 762. And Babe, Aaron C. hit 800. Dude was 8 for 10 because the minimum is 10 at bats. He would have played more. He unfortunately hurt his leg. I think he has a quad injury. So unfortunately, Aaron didn't finish the tournament, but when he was playing, dude went 8 for 10. Another strong tournament for Aaron C. That was the MVP on offense. On the defensive side, they did the deep, short, and mid also, but and I listened to the awards and JT explained something at the beginning, but I couldn't hear him well enough. So they gave out 5 awards, only one to the deep position, and I missed the explanation on why they decided to do that. But Ethan Johnston, 8 putouts deep for the one all tournament spot there.
They're cheap,
Out.
Neil Dog. They cheap. They don't want to give out extra trophies, man. Cheap.
I actually wondered if it's possible no other outfielders had a putout. That can't be possible. No, that
Uh,
can't be possible. I was like maybe, or
What's to
maybe
say?
like everybody only had
People put it
one.
hanging 25, 24 runs up there. You never know.
Yeah, they had enough opportunity. Fair enough. I
You
don't know.
know.
Yeah, again, he explained it at the beginning. I don't know what what the explanation is. I don't want to say they're cheap because they give out money to every single team
Yeah,
that
no,
shows up at this tournament.
no.
Our
I
boy
was just
Alex
funning.
Cavino, who was on the show Friday night, 8
Okay.
putouts in the mid, playing that new defense. Man, I do like the sound of that defense. I would like to like play in that a little bit. I think or even coach it.
You played short. Wouldn't be any different.
Yeah, I mean, I know where
You
I
just
know
get
where
the
I play.
balls at stop anyway, man. So you know what the hell are you
The easy
doing?
ones.
Yeah,
Um, Actually, I would kind of like to coach it though too. I like the idea not of just of shifting the one deep player, but of shifting the two mids around, and maybe even all 4 of them, kind of like infield shifts in real baseball. I don't know. It's something I would mentally I've been playing with over the weekend. Um, Bill Landrum, our other guest from Friday night, joined him with 10 putouts in the mid. So he was kind of the mid MVP, I guess. Mark Morris, once again on the short list with 30 more putouts, 57 putouts over the last 2 weekends of Mark Morris. And Richie Flores with 34 putouts for your Bayou City Heat.
those guys are short.
Yeah, playing
That
short
does
also.
really say. I mean, those are like crazy numbers for just a
Yeah,
disparity.
for
You
four
know,
games, that's like
yeah,
what, seven, almost eight, over 8 putouts a game.
yeah, you know
Or
that
for Richie, it is just under 8, 7.5 for Mark.
that's yeah. I mean, yeah, when you're looking at like the mid, what, two and a half a game or whatever.
Yeah, but that's why mids and deeps never made all-star teams because they don't get
Well,
as much.
Eric made plenty of All-Star teams playing in them.
Eric, when I know you consider that a mid, in by the rules everybody's going by, Eric played at 95 feet. He'd still be considered a short. Mikey was our mid. Mikey and we, whoever was playing the 4 on the right field side were our mids by these rules. Again, I'm not arguing with how you feel about it. I'm telling you how this would be interpreted dogs wise. Eric always would have been a short.
Yeah.
So
But in reality, Eric was, and Eric lined up at the base at times. No doubt about that. Um, we're talking 5 feet one way or the other, and he's still tracking down hella putouts. You know what I mean? So,
yeah,
and he's not going up. He's not getting. My thing with the short is generally he's not picking up the 45-foot balls right up the middle. That's yours. So that's why he's not short. But I was just saying that it is perhaps it does speak to the condition of the fields. That just And perhaps if there was only one outfielder making those put up, you know what I'm saying? Perhaps the fields are just kind of slow. Shit. But I don't
Well,
know.
I mean, it was raining, so
Right, exactly. Yes, yes,
that
yes,
always
yes.
slows stuff down. It
Yeah,
makes
yeah.
things sloppy or whatever.
Uh, uh,
Uh,
that's a lot of work for him, but it's all good.
I mean, it was
Uh,
both like it was a little bit of everything Saturday because I know Rosina Foster had specifically spoke on how she literally got sunburned and frozen like a popsicle in the same day out at the same field. So it was a little bit of everything out there. But I do think the fields were more defensive, even
right, right. Oh, all right. Well, good, man.
Yep, that's it. Good. Another good strong tournament. It's crazy. Like this is the busiest beat baseball season ever, most tournaments ever, most games played ever. And it feels like it just started in Vegas and it's already kind of wrapping up, Seth Dog.
All
Like literally 6 weeks from now, the World Series will be going on.
right.
There's a tournament going on in Texas that is kind of an impromptu kind of round robin with four of the teams. But outside of that, and the Beast of the East, that's all that's left outside of the World Series now. Hard to
Mm.
believe. Hard to believe. But all right, there's our Bolingbrook recap. We'll get something up again probably towards the end of the week. We'll see what comes around. We'll keep this thing going. We
All
will
right.
we will catch everybody next time. Thanks for tuning in. Be well.